This video will show you how to add and manage system users in Transport Pro. The first thing you'll want to do when getting started with Transport Pro is add your system users to the system and set the appropriate permissions. System administrators have the ability to easily add and edit system user accounts or lock users out if needed. So let's start by adding a new user to the system. To add a new user, go to Administration, Manage System Users, Add System User. Fill out the top half of the form. The yellow fields are required. Let's run through an explanation of fields. First, middle, and last name. Enter the user's name. The first and last names are required. Title. Enter the user's job title. Address. Enter the user's full address. If you enter the zip code first, then the city and state will auto-populate. TransCore 360 username and password. These fields are only applicable to brokerage users who are posting loads from Transport Pro to DAT. So you'll only use these fields if you have a DAT integration set up with us and this user needs to post loads. Otherwise, leave these fields blank. Username. This is the username that the user will log into Transport Pro with. We typically recommend using the user's email address because it's unique, but it can be whatever you want it to be. However, note that it is case sensitive at login. Password. Enter the password that you want this user to log into Transport Pro with. Again, this is case sensitive at login. Confirm password. Retype the password to confirm it. Email address. Enter the user's email address. Enter any applicable phone numbers for this system user. If there is an office phone number entered here for this user, and this user sends out a dispatch or rate confirmation, the office phone number will be displayed on these confirmations. If there is no office phone number entered here, then the system will default to show the phone number listed on the terminal. Equipment Managing Office. Tag the Managing Equipment Office if applicable. For example, if this is a user that handles equipment maintenance and belongs to a specific equipment maintenance office, maybe you have multiple offices, you can tag that information here. Selecting an option here does not drive anything. It simply lives on this record for your informational purposes. Note that this is a drop-down menu that you or an administrator can control. If you would like to use this tag and add options to this drop-down menu, then you can do so by going to Administration, Manage Site Settings, Manage Drop-Down Values. These values are managed under the Equipment Locations table. Once you've added it under the Administration menu, then you will see the option to select it here on the user's account. Primary terminal. If this user belongs to a specific terminal or has a primary terminal that they belong to, you can tag that here. Now recall, in Transport Pro, a terminal refers to an outside 1099 office or agent, or you may be using terminals to split information into pods. For more information on adding or managing terminals, please see our terminals guide. Terminal visibility. If you are managing several terminals and this user needs visibility into several terminals or more than one terminal, you can make that selection here. Division. By default, there's nothing to select here. You can really use this tag however you want. For example, maybe you have a heavy haul division, and this user is assigned to that division. You'd like to tag that information. Using this tag doesn't drive or affect anything and will simply live on this record for your informational purposes. If you would like options added to this dropdown, our technical support team will need to add those options for you. So if you do want to see other options here, please contact our tech support team at support@transportpro.net and let us know what you'd like to add. Enforce terminal data restrictions. If you would like to lock this user's permissions down so that they can only see data in the system that is assigned to their primary terminal or terminals that you've given them visibility to, then check this box. For example, if this is an agent user you're setting up and you only want them to see loads, drivers, etc. tied to these specific terminals or 1099 office, check this box. Timeout. By default, the only option you'll see here is 1 hour. This means that after 1 hour of inactivity, the user will be automatically logged out of the system. If you would like to see other options here, we have to add that. Please contact tech support at support@transportpro.net and let us know what you'd like added here. Dashboard. Selecting a dashboard here determines the screen that the user will be presented with upon logging into the system. So depending on the user's role in the company, tag the desired dashboard. For example, if this is a dispatch user I'm setting up, I'll tag freight operations. Driver advance daily max limit. This field is only applicable if you are set up with the ComData or EFS real-time integration. The real-time integration with these two fuel card providers allows users to issue advances to the cards at the time of dispatch. If you are set up with this real-time integration, then you can set a daily max limit here on the user account. This is the daily limit that this user is allowed to advance to a fuel card. If you are set up with the real-time service, please contact our technical support team so that we can ensure everything is set up correctly. Force password renewal. Check this box if you would like for the user to reset their password at login. For example, when adding a new system user, you set and confirm the password, which they'll use to log in with. But maybe you'd like for the system to prompt the user to reset their password at login for security purposes. If so, check this box and the user will be prompted to reset their own password as desired. Note, as an administrator, you have the ability to reset passwords for users as needed. So if a user comes to you and says that they've locked themselves out of Transport Pro or they can't remember their password, you can come into their user account here and reset the password for them. Account locked out. You can lock users out of the system as needed. For example, if a user quits or gets fired, then you can come into their user account and check this box to lock them out. This also frees up a license so you can add a new user in their place while keeping this user's history for your records. Now, let's take a look at the bottom half of the screen with the different groups. User messaging groups. Transport Pro auto-generates internal system notifications for users. The user messaging groups that the user is assigned to will determine the types of notifications that the user sees. These internal system notifications that Transport Pro generates show up in the Earth icon above the main menu bar. So let's say, for example, that this is a dispatch user I'm setting up, and I check the Freight Operations user messaging group. This would trigger system notifications related to freight operations, such as when a load status is updated. Again, notifications are displayed and accessed via the Earth icon above the main menu bar. You can check options here if you'd like, but you don't have to. User security groups. This is really the section where you primarily manage this user's permissions, meaning what they'll have access to when they log into the system. A generally easy way to think about these permissions is that they correspond to the main menus across the top. For example, if you check the billing permission here, then the user will have access to the billing tab at the top. Now note, we can set some individual permissions for users upon request. So for example, maybe you're setting up a general dispatch user who needs to access a specific settlements report, but you really don't want to give the user access to the full settlements menu. In a scenario like this, please submit that request to tech support at transportpro.net, and we'll take a look at setting that individual permission for you. For a detailed list of what permissions are included in each of these user security groups, please see our guide on adding and managing system users, and you'll find that list there. Next, let's take a look at these image security groups. So Transport Pro allows you to lock down permissions for document types as needed. Any user can add or upload any document to any profile that they have access to in the system. Whether we're talking about uploading documents to a load, safety documents to a driver record, contracts to a customer record, etc. Users can also manage any documents that they have uploaded themselves. And by manage, I mean preview or download the file. However, administrators have the ability to lock down these document types to security groups as needed. So for example, let's say as an administrator, you've locked down the document type CDL to the safety imaging group here. Now you're creating a user profile, and this user needs to access that CDL document type or be able to manage, view, download that document type. Then the user would need to have the safety box checked here in the image security group. Only a handful of document types are locked down by default, and you can set these permissions however you want at any time. The document types are managed under Imaging, Manage Document Type. For a more detailed guide on managing these images and document types, please see our imaging guide. GL security groups. Transport Pro has specific security groups here that pertain to the general ledger in Transport Pro. So typically only an accounting, billing, or settlements user needs these permissions checked. If you check all accounts, it allows a user to assign the GL codes for both billing and settlement codes, as well as search for and view the GL accounts in the chart of accounts. Billing accounts. This allows a user to assign the GL accounts to the billing codes, as well as search for and view the GL accounts in the chart of accounts. DRS accounts. This permission allows the user to set the GL accounts on the settlement codes, as well as view the GL accounts in the chart of accounts. Again, if you have an accounting type of user, that's probably managing both billing and settlement codes, go ahead and check all these boxes here. Once you have entered all of the information for this user and set the permissions the way you want them, save the record. Once you've added your system users, you can easily run a search for those profiles and review and edit the information as needed. So to run a search, go to Administration, Manage System Users, Search System Users. You can use the filters here as desired. If you don't use any filters and just click Search, a list of all user profiles will generate. To open the profile to review or edit, click on the ID or the edit icon out to the right. Note, on this search screen, you'll also be able to see how many user licenses you have purchased and how many are in use. If you ever need to add more user licenses, please submit the request to support@transportpro.net. Now, let's take a look at the user activity reports. Transport Pro has a couple reporting tools so that administrators can see a user's login history, change log, and any special permissions that are set on an account. To review a user's login history, go to Administration, Manage System Users, User Activity. You can use the filters as desired and then click Get Report. The report will show you several pieces of information, including the username, date of the login, and whether access was granted or denied. You can also review a user's login history via their system user profile. To do this, open up the user's profile and click on the Login History link in the upper right-hand corner. A small window will open and display the date of login, IP address, and when the user logged in and out, or if the login attempt failed. If you have requested that we set any individual or special permissions for this user, you can review those special permissions via the user's profile by clicking on the Individual Permissions link in the upper right-hand corner of the profile. You can also review a user's change log via their user profile. The change log shows you who last made a change to the user's profile, along with a date and timestamp. To view this, click on the change log link in the upper left-hand corner. Lastly, let's look at how to copy user profiles or copy over permissions for new users. So Transport Pro has a tool in place that makes it easy to copy permission settings from an existing user to a new user, saving administrators time when adding a new user. Let's say, for example, you already have a safety user set up in the system with the desired permissions, and now you need to add a second safety user and give that user the same permissions. In this scenario, you can copy permissions to the new account. You can do this one of two ways. The first option is to run a search for the existing user by going to Administration, Manage System Users, Search System Users. Bring up the profile you wish to copy and click the clone icon out to the right. This will redirect you to finish filling out the new user's contact information, but carry over those permissions. You can also clone user permissions by navigating to the desired user's profile and clicking the Clone User link in the upper right-hand corner. And that covers how to add and manage system users in Transport Pro. If you have any questions about managing these profiles or setting permissions, please reach out to our technical support team for assistance. You can reach us at support@transportpro.net. Thank you for watching this video.